We'd like to reward our Building While Flying listeners with a discount to Stork, an annual membership where we deliver content and resources on new topics directly to your inbox weekly. From social media marketing tactics to broader business best practices, we have 2+ years of content available. You will also get access to the Sasha Group through our private Facebook community. Usually $300 per year, we're offering a 20% discount for BWF listeners. Reach out to stork at thesashagroup.com to sign up.
Welcome to Building While Flying, a Sasha Group podcast where we interview business leaders about how they tackle challenges, stay resilient, and navigate ever-changing skies.
Welcome to Building While Flying. My name is Elizabeth Cates. I'm a vice president here at the Sasha Group, and I'll be joining you today as the host. Our producer reached out to me to see if I'd be interested in doing this interview because of my side hustle. I make handcrafted jewelry that's inspired by places that I travel that have touched my heart. Started in Thailand and has gone all over the world since then. So who better to interview one of the hottest up and coming brands in the sustainable jewelry space than me? So today my guest is Jessica Warch, co-founder and CEO of Kimai, a sustainably made, respectfully sourced, lab-grown diamond company. Jessica and her partner, Sidney Newhouse, started this London jeweler that uses 100% recycled gold and lab-grown diamonds, chemically and physically identical to the mined ones without the ethical and environmental consequences. Super impressive. Since November of 2018, Kimai has raised $1.2 million from investors, including Diane von Furstenberg and Rebecca Minkoff. So you're certainly creating a real revolution in the world of fine jewelry. Hi, Jessica. Welcome. And thank you for taking time to talk with us today.
Hey, Elizabeth. Thank you so much for having me. It's a pleasure.
I'm so excited to meet you. And I'm really, really excited about the opportunity for our listeners to hear more about the story of you and of your brand, and really the space that you are innovating in a way that has never seen this before. So I'm such a huge fan, obviously, based on my love of jewelry, period. But what you guys are doing with the classic designs and the sustainable approach to how you're doing it and sort of shining a light on the industry as a whole, just really excited to talk to you. So let's jump in.
Amazing. Let's do it.
Good. So tell us a little bit about you and how you and your partner came up with the idea for this brand.
So, yeah, of course. Basically, my co-founder and myself were both from Belgium, so you might hear it at my accent. So we grew up in Antwerp, and I don't know if most of you know, but basically Antwerp is the diamond center of the world. So that's where most of the diamond trade happens or come true. So always grew up around diamonds and jewelry. And about 10 years ago, wow, feel old now, but 10 years ago, we moved to London in order to study over here. And so I went on to study business. My co-founder, which also is my best friend, went on to study gemology. So she's a certified gemologist. I'm more of the business head of Kimai. And so after my studies, I worked for a startup in London called Appear Here. I was operation manager. So basically Appear Here is a platform like Airbnb, but for retail. So enables people to rent short-term retail stores. And stayed there for about a year and a half and then left to launch Kimai.
Yeah. So did you guys already have the idea? I mean, obviously your background and where you came from, it was probably in some ways in your DNA to be interested in this industry. But had you already hatched the idea when you decided to move and sort of pursue those two paths, or how did that come about?
So basically how it came about, it's really personally, we became more and more conscious of our impact over the years, leaving kind of the bubble you grew up in, and also just being the generation we are. We ask more questions where we need to, we want to know where the pieces we're buying are coming from. And so with the years, kind of seeing many industries being innovated in a way or another, having more transparency in their supply chain, having more transparency in the way they talk to their customers. And we just felt that we weren't just buying into a product, we were buying into brands and really what they stand for nowadays. And looking at the fine jewelry and diamond industry, it's an industry that has always had an important meaning to us. Because, of course, we grew up around it. But on top of it, fine jewelry is really something that you purchase once and you can carry it over to the next generation. So we really see it. It's a very sentimental purchase, to which we were very attached. And we just felt disconnected from the industry, like being more conscious, asking more questions, even knowing the diamond traders directly. We couldn't get any simple answer about the origins of our stone. Of course, there were all those controversies on top of it around the industry, from blood diamond to child labor. So from a transparency perspective, we just felt something was wrong and we didn't want to buy into that industry anymore. And then from an experience and marketing perspective, it's also an industry that has never seen any changes over the past hundreds of years. If you go into a store today, it's probably the same experience you had 100 years ago. So like
Yeah.
they basically haven't reinvented their offering. They haven't reinvented the way they talk to their customer. They're marketing their product in the exact same way as they were marketing it to our great grandparents. And it's very intimidating experience that often talk to men. So mixing all of those, we kind of like were stuck in a way where like jewelry has always been so important to us, and we know how much emotional value there's linked to it, and we also see it as the most sustainable purchase in a way because you never get rid of it.
Yeah.
But at the same time, we couldn't find any brand at all that was talking to us in terms of transparency, in terms of experience, like making it more approachable, but without having to trade off on quality, design, or others. So we just felt that the market was really, they were two extremes. They were the high-end fine jewelry brand that offered high quality, but then they trade. It comes at a crazy price point and a very outdated experience. And then a lot of like D2C kind of like jewelry brand that have launched over the past few years, but often it's really more on the lower end of that market, trading off on quality or design. And of course, sustainability in most of those extremes aren't present. So we really wanted to figure out, how do we bring a brand to the market that doesn't trade off on any of those verticals, meaning transparency, quality, design, and pricing? So that's basically how we came up with Kimai. The idea was there, but then we didn't know what was the solution, because when we launched, so we launched about 3.5 years ago. Most people never heard about about lab-grown diamonds at the time. And it's still new. Like I met someone today and they were like, I've never heard about it. I'm like, wow, like it doesn't happen as often, but it's still something that is super current. Most people don't know what those lab-grown diamonds are. So making our research, kind of like trying to understand what's happening, talking to different diamond traders. That's how we heard about those diamonds, which, for everyone listening, basically, as you said before as well, Elizabeth, it's chemically and physically identical to mined stones, but without the social and environmental impact of mining. And when I say identical, even the diamond trader or certified gemologist basically can't tell them apart. So we really saw this as our best solution to bring the transparency we're looking for to the market, but also the innovation side of it. But we knew it came with challenges, of course, because we need to basically educate a whole industry.
Yeah.
So that's, in short, how it all came about. And we started, so as I said, Sidney's my best friend. So we were living together at the time. She's always been in the jewelry side of it. I've always been passionate about jewelry, but really more on the business aspect with my previous experiences. And we decided to try it out.
I mean, it's incredible what you've done. I mean, I feel like you took something that previously, especially before the light has been shown on the industry as a whole, and kind of how that has come about with like you said, Blood Diamond, and different documentaries that have come about within that industry, to really shine a light on something that was seen as lesser than, to really be the thing that you want, because it is actually making a huge difference in the world. As far as kind of taking away some of those negatives. So insightful on your side for that. And just to know really where the world is going and what matters to you and your friends and your generation and what's happening in the world, and where you should go with it.
The reason being is that most people don't actually know what it really means, mining. And so definitely the market was always controlled by big players, and they kind of like were able to control what what information was out there as well. So I think it's a lack of information that most customers don't have access to, and that's also why we're kind of like stuck in those old ways of doing.
Yeah. Can you explain, since you sort of dug into it a little bit more, and explaining where you came to, sort of this revolution of how we could be doing it better? Can you explain a little bit of what that process looks like with the lab grown?
Yeah. So basically, a diamond is made out of carbon, 100% out of carbon. So it starts with a carbon seed and it grows under earth, usually in a high pressure and high temperature environment. And today, thanks to technology, we're able to basically replicate that environment in a lab, meaning that the diamond will grow in the exact same way as it would under earth, but in a different environment. So we kind of like often compare it to ice in a fridge or ice in an iceberg. You get the
Mm-hmm.
same result, but it's just a different environment. And so it enables us to really have the exact same result, meaning that a diamond isn't perfect. It's not, you don't, even if it's a lab grown diamond, you don't grow a diamond and think it's flawless. It comes with its imperfection, it comes with its inclusions. So each diamond is graded in the exact same way as it would be graded if it was a mined diamond through different labs in order to understand their 4Cs, and to understand the quality of the stone. So I try to keep it simple,
Yeah, yeah,
the process, but that's basically how it works. And what it helps, it really enables us, like, firstly, for like mining diamond, we need to dig deeper and deeper today in order to get even less than one carat diamond. Like, it's about 1,750 tons of earth, which also means that entire population needs to be relocated because there's no more space to dig.
Mm-hmm.
And on top of it, then the social impacts of the working environment are unsafe. You don't know where the diamond come from, because the day it leaves the mine to the day it gets to the end customer, it exchanges more than 20 hands. So there's no way to trace what mine does the diamond come from. And we've actually seen it basically. So one big company that supplied 40% of the world's diamond is a Russian government owned company. So with everything going on around the world, there's been kind of like legislation around that company. But most people were saying, yeah, like, because a lot of company were saying, okay, we're stopping, we'll stop buying diamonds from Russia. But
Mm-hmm.
how do you know diamonds come from there? Basically,
Yeah.
there's no way to know, because as soon as the diamond kind of like leave Russia and goes to India to get cut, people will say it's an Indian diamond. So there's really that kind of like opaque supply chain that isn't transparent, and that we're able to really control with the lab grown diamond side of it, because we're working with the lab directly. We know every person in the supply chain, and from a manufacturing perspective of the jewelry, we work closely with all of our jewelers. They're independent, set up their own prices. So we don't manufacture the stones ourselves. We work closely with labs to do it.
Is this the direction that you see the industry going in the future?
Definitely. I
Yeah.
think it's still super early on. Really, like, we're only at 5% of the market, like of the total market share of fine jewelry. But it's definitely something that's growing. So when we launched, we kind of like thought, okay, we'll do it with everyday pieces between $200 to $1,000, because the market's not there yet. There needs to be more education, and actually got a lot of demand for engagement rings, which we never thought customer would make that switch that quickly for that bigger purchase. But
Right.
the market is switching. Customers are more and more conscious. Customers are more educated, have more access to information, and we don't see a way where like the future isn't lab grown. Like, there, as soon as you've got the information available and you understand what those diamonds are, most people say there is no way going back, because you basically get the same product at a lesser cost for the planet and also for your bank account.
For your bank account. Right. Yeah. I mean, even in looking, researching for this discussion, like, I mean, yeah, you've got flawless products at a
Yeah.
really affordable price, and like, I mean, the design is impeccable. So yeah, I mean, there's really you've kind of cracked the code on that. So tell us, where did the name come from?
So Kimai in Hebrew means sustainable. So we wanted something that was aligned with our mission, our values, and came up with that name. We wanted something that is unique as well. So I don't know, to other founders listening, I think everyone knows how hard it is to find a name for your brand or your company. So it kind of like was a lot of researching, and really wanted to make it impactful for us personally as much as for the brand's mission.
Absolutely. I love the name. Um, I am going to switch gears a little bit here. I'd love to talk to you a little bit more about some of the well-known investors that you've been able to secure in your fundraising. So, again, as you know, we really focus a lot on entrepreneurs in the groups that we work with and the clients that we have. So, would love to hear a little bit more about any advice that you have on how to get some of the bigger name attention that you've received from the likes of Diane von Furstenberg and Rebecca Minkoff. But just in general, how did you go about reaching out and getting their attention and signing them on?
Yeah. So I think we're continuously learning, and it's not an easy kind of like path in general fundraising, and I think even less nowadays. But for us, like we didn't know anyone at the time in that fundraising kind of like network. We started the brand without any funds. We really wanted to prove the product market fit, and I think that definitely helped because like we bootstrapped our way in order to prove that there is something happening, and in order then to attract the right customers. And then how we went about it, because we didn't know any founders or any investors at all. We kind of like started googling people that are investors but at the same time have common threads with us. So for example, we sell jewelry. It was easier to target women just because they would understand the product much better, because often you find yourself in front of like just a male kind of like table, and it's really hard to communicate with people that don't wear the product or understand the product. So for us, the first thing was like, what kind of people should we look for? And so we started researching like female entrepreneurs, female angels investors, etc. And from there, kind of like put a list together and started outreaching. So for us, everything was cold emails. Same way we got, we'll get to it afterward, the same way we got Meghan Markle to wear our pieces was a cold email. So we big believers in cold emails. And I think like you have nothing to lose. You don't know those people anyways. Worst case, you'll never hear back from them and never see them. So like just go for it. And I think that would be my biggest advice. And that being said, like it's not easy and you can really send emails without getting any answer, but I kind of like follow up continuously. And as soon as you get one person to believe in you, it's also easier because they're going to share it with their network. So it's kind of like it's hard to get it in, but then as soon as you get that person to trust you, it's a snowball kind of effect where like others will follow. But I do think in general as well, like asking other founders is useful to kind of like get their thoughts on it, and perhaps they can intro you to different people. So yeah.
Yeah, we've seen that a lot in even our groups and sort of 4Ds and different programs that we run where there's a lot of energy you can get from other entrepreneurs. There's a lot of like most people in that mindset are also really into teaching, like they have a mission and a reason for being there and they're excited to teach someone or help someone sort of rise up as well. So that's fantastic. And yeah, I mean, again, kudos to you for, putting it out there and all they can say is no, right?
Exactly.
Yeah. So yeah, talk a little, you touched on that. So you did the same process in getting, the likes of Meghan Markle and Emma Watson and Jessica Alba, huge names to wear your jewelry and to sort of put your name out there. How are you able to do that? Was that all through cold email?
So yeah, same process. So basically when as I said, we didn't fundraise at the time. So meaning that unlike many brands, when they launch, they have a strong launch day. We kind of like didn't even have a branding in place. We had a very simplified Shopify website, and kind of like launch day happened. Okay, we launched, so what? Like there's no press around it. Like we have no PR, we have no marketing. So our only strength at the point was really like, firstly, definitely word of mouth, friends and family to start with, but how far can that get you, right? So our only strength was really like figuring out ways to get our pieces on the right people. And so Meghan Markle was perfectly aligned with everything we stand for, because she was supporting a lot of female-founded brands, a lot of sustainable brands, and on top of it, she was modernizing a very traditional industry. But of course, kind of like when we thought about her, we're like, it would never happen. But what have you got? Like, you have nothing to lose. So kind of like looked at her close network, at people that are less mediatized than she is, and started reaching out, looking for emails on Facebook in different places until we could find emails of her friends, started emailing them with our mission, our story. And luckily enough, her PA reached out a few days later, asking to purchase the pieces. And we thought it was spam, to be honest, for a bit. We're like, that's not possible. What's going on? And most of our friends were telling us, you're losing your time. Like, just focus on building your business. I'm like, but what can we do else than that, right? At the moment. And that really kind of like helped us grow and escalated really, and enabled us to have that global presence and in the US as well, and organic without having spent a dime. And from there, kind of like took advantage of this to go and fundraise, because I think it's definitely important to prove that something's happening or that you were able to do much with little. And so, yeah, so that's how it happened. So mostly, and Rebecca, same that way. So it really always happens that way.
Yeah. Yeah, I mean, but again, couldn't be a better suited spokesperson or ambassador for you for all of the reasons that you
Exactly.
named. She does
Exactly.
represent, a modernization of a pretty traditional space, and that's exactly
Exactly.
what you guys are doing. So fantastic. In that same vein, I'm also a huge fan of the collaboration that you did with Alex Eagle. I think that's your first, if I'm understanding correctly, that's your first collaboration. So talk a little bit about that and sort of innovate. You're new, right? So you're roughly 2 years ish in the world,
3 years old. Yeah.
three years old. When did you decide to start, collaborating and bringing in other partners for that side of it? How do you make that choice? How are you deciding who to collaborate with? And then, are there any more collaborations coming that we can look forward to in the future?
Definitely. So basically, we design all of our pieces ourselves, which means so my co-founder is the designer mostly, and she has someone on her team. And I think it's refreshing sometimes to bring other people in to get other perspectives. So that's the way we thought of like a collab. We don't do many of them, and we don't plan on doing too many. Just because I feel like there's already a lot of messaging around the brand, and it's important to have like a clear message, but we do it when it makes sense with the right partner. So like Alex Eagle, and also partners we get along with well, which is super important because it's a collaboration, not just from a marketing perspective, but we're working on those designs for a few months. We're working on the production side of it. So it does take time to kind of like get to a final product. And we loved her style, we love her aesthetics. We met with her, she was aligned with like what we stand for as values, mission, and we got along really well with her, and that kind of like was a natural fit. Whenever we look for collaboration moving forward, it's the same. It's or a personal fit or from a
Mhm.
brand aspect. They need to be aligned in terms of mission and values. So we're definitely looking at launching some more coming soon, hopefully. But we want to do them like just like twice a year max, 1 to 2 times a year, in order to, because we launch new products already every month, so it feels a bit overwhelming if we do it too often. But it's really about like the personal fit and the brand's fit.
Yeah. And I mean, again, you have such a classic style, but it's modern and,
Yeah.
and it feels like it is a capsule piece, but
Yeah.
simultaneously like it's unique, which is a pretty hard
That's the
balance.
rule as well. Like we try to really differentiate ourselves in design, but take pieces that you can wear every day, that you can stack. So like you can see my ears, I always have different pieces that you can stack up, and basically play around with it. But doesn't mean that it won't be timeless. We want pieces that are timeless because again, what I said before, like jewelry is something that you can carry over to the next generation, and that's something we really want to carry on.
Yeah. Yeah. Amazing. Love your work. So I want to switch gears just a little bit. The podcast, as you know, is called Building While Flying. So, obviously, as I said, we talk a lot to the entrepreneurs of the world, the people who are building their companies as they're kind of launching them and they're out in the world. In what ways do you feel established? Like, obviously, you've got a lot of traction and a lot of buzz. As I said, you're really innovating a very old industry in a way that it's never seen before. So, what ways do you feel established? And then, what ways are you still sort of figuring it out? What are the things that you guys are still kind of working
Yeah.
through as you're getting up and running, as we say, building while flying?
I think we're still figuring everything out. I think as founders, I feel like you never kind of like feel like you're established. I feel like it's every day is a new challenge, and everything there's something else coming up. So I feel like there's so much more to learn, but definitely we've come a long way. And I felt that whenever we feel like we're established in a way is really when we see the customers' feedback and the reason behind their piece, and being such like a part of such an important moment in their life. Is it engagement ring? Is it a birthday? Is it, and like them talking to us, like talking about us to other friends, and getting messages basically saying, yeah, I heard about you by a friend, or or even seeing people wearing the pieces. That's the moment where we're like, oh wow, we've done something. But then when you go back to business, you're like, oh my god, I need to figure out so many things. Like, what am I doing?
Yeah, yeah. So who are your mentors in figuring that out? Who do you have? Obviously, you've got personal connections in the industry from where you grew up, but
Yeah.
who else are you using, as a mentor?
So we have a lot of angels investors that have been super useful. And what we look for whenever we onboard angels is really that personal, again, connection. So we have their phone number. I can ask them for an intro, like I can call them if I have a breakdown and I need mental support. So I think that they've been really useful. And on top of it, it's important to be surrounded by founders that go through the same journey, because otherwise it can feel very lonely. So different founders as well. I think in the US, you guys are very lucky with the kind of like founders environment and community that there is, and everyone's really useful and happy to meet other people. While in Europe, it's still new, so
Mhm.
we're not there yet, so it's still kind of like building. There's less female founders, and I think that's what has been the most useful, is understanding that everyone's going through the same, and everyone has ups and downs, and it's not just the ups, even though that's the only thing you'll kind of showcase publicly, right?
Yeah, yeah. I mean, I think it's so interesting too, that you all are innovating in a place that is much more steeped in tradition. I mean, the U.S. has a lot of tradition, but really was founded on innovation and doing things a different way, sort of to some extent. So, I think that's really interesting, that you all are breaking through and kind of finding a different path. So, I think that's amazing. Um, are there any new developments like product offerings, service offerings, partnerships that you want to highlight or talk to us about while we have you?
Of course. So we actually recently launched our category called Second Life, where customers can come to us and repurpose old pieces.
Oh,
And the thinking is all about repurposing, like recycling, repurposing old pieces without, instead of just leaving it in your uh, anywhere in your house without even wearing it. So that's why I said like jewelry for us is the most sustainable piece, because you can like purchase, because you can really unset the stone, melt the gold, and bring it back to life into a new design. So just like a great new category that we've launched recently. And then in general, we're a D2C brand, but we're definitely looking to expand into retail, because we think that kind of like balance between online and offline is important. And I feel after COVID, everyone kind of like want to get back out there and meet people and have that personal interaction. So those are the kind of like projects that we're working on, but definitely many more to come. And so yeah, I would say that's it.
fantastic. Are you looking mostly in the UK for opening locations, or are you looking also in the US?
To start with UK because it's easier, but then we
Mhm.
want to expand. So today our market, it's quite split equally, US, UK, and France. So it's kind of like we're always, oh, actually, we're coming to New York and Connecticut. I can't pronounce it.
Yep, that's
In
it.
June, and we're doing pop-ups at Jenny Kane. So we're doing pop-ups event, piercing events at Jenny Kane in New York, in Soho, and in their Greenwich store.
I will be there.
Please do
So
come.
exciting. What dates are that? What dates are your pop-ups going to be
So
for the
it's
listeners?
on the 8th in, let me confirm. It's on the 8th in Greenwich. I'm pretty sure I'm not spelling it, like
Yeah,
pronouncing it
Greenwich,
well.
Connecticut. Yeah, you're right. You got it.
Exactly. And it's on the 9th in Soho. And then on the 11th, we'll be in the Hamptons.
That sounds like a nice little June. That's fantastic. Awesome. Great. Well, yeah, we'll have a lot of New Yorkers listening to this, so hopefully that'll get the word
Amazing.
out for you.
Amazing. And it's
Good.
an evening event, but feel free to reach out if you want more information.
Fantastic. Great. Good. Good. Well, that's all I have today. I really appreciate your time. This was an incredible conversation. And again, congratulations on what you've built and what you've seen needed to be innovated, and innovating a really an amazing brand that you've got here today.
Thank you so, so much. Thank you for having me. And it's been a pleasure. And hopefully, I'll see you in person soon.
Exactly. See you in June. Thank you so much,
See
Jessica.
you. Thank you so much.
Bye.